Hi, everyone. I'm Terry Carey, and I'm here with Michael Neill. Hi, Michael.
Hello there.
I understand you're doing a new interactive coaching program that you're calling Creating the Impossible.
Transforming the world in 30 days.
Ooh,
actually,
that's a lot to
transforming your world in 30 days. But not people's worlds transform, the big world gets to transform too. So either title will serve.
Great. Now, doesn't the fact that it's an impossible goal make it impossible to achieve?
Well, sometimes. One of the things about impossible goals is that most people's idea of what's impossible is so hopelessly skewed downwards. In other words, there's the famous Michelangelo quote that the problem isn't that we set our sights too high and fail to achieve them. It's that we set them too low and do achieve them. And very often when I talk to people, when I ask my clients, when we're first working together, or if I ask someone on the radio, okay, what would be impossible but great? They'll say something, and I'll listen, and I'll go, well, that's incredibly possible. That's, in fact, easy. But because we have these little blinkers about what's possible for us, we often set our sights too low, and then we either achieve them or don't, but there's no real inspiration there. One of the things that I said, I call it the golden rule of goal getting, and you can have what you want, and it's one of the fundamental premises that I've run my practice on for nearly 20 years now, is that it's easier to have what you actually want than what you think you can get. It's easier to create what you're really inspired about creating than what fits your idea of what your current capabilities show you. And that's because you've got something else going for you. When you're creating an impossible goal, when you're going after something, boy, would you love it, and you have no idea, and probably it's not going to work anyways, but oh my gosh, what if it did? There's a whole other level of inspiration that comes in, and that not only energizes you in the pursuit of the goal, it opens you up to inspired wisdom. It opens you up to things happening that you couldn't have predicted, that you couldn't have known were going to happen. That tends not to happen if the goal is, I'd like to make a little bit more money. It would be nice if my kids and I only fought 3 times this week instead of 4. Those sort of little constant and never-ending improvement goals. It's not that there's anything wrong with them. It's that they don't inspire, they don't bring out more from you than you're used to having brought out. And the whole beauty of an impossible goal, there's a couple things that are just wonderful about setting a goal that you really don't believe you can achieve. The first is you're often wrong. So you often wind up creating a lot more, whether or not you hit the target, than you would have created otherwise. The second is it taps into something in you that most of us kind of know is there in theory, but usually only comes out of us in crisis. Everyone's heard the stories about the mothers lifting the cars off the babies, or just people doing things that shouldn't be humanly possible. And normally that only happens in a time of crisis. When you set an impossible goal, it's not about panic. It's not like, okay, I'm going to create a crisis to bring something out of me. I'm just going to create something that's so big that I can't even start to go after it the way that I would go after most things. I have to change the way I think. A very small level, one of the ways that I'll sometimes do this with people is they'll say, I just can't make 20 minutes a day to meditate, or I just can't find half an hour 3 times a week to exercise. And I'll agree with them, because it's hard to do that. It's hard to fit that stuff into your schedule, especially if you're busy. But when I tell them, so what I want them to do instead is take 3 hours a day to meditate, or to exercise for an hour and a half before they do anything else 6 days a week. People can do those things because they stop trying to fit them into their day, and they realize that they actually have to change their day to fit around the priority that they've created for themselves. And that's kind of what an impossible goal or project does. Now, that doesn't mean if you're sort of really busy and think, I don't have time for one more thing, that it has to be about more time and more effort. Remember, you're only going to do what you're inspired to do here. But the other great thing about an impossible goal is you can't lose, because you probably will. It's like the football team or the baseball team that goes in and the underdog. Everyone loves being the underdog because there's really no pressure. Because if you win, it's a miracle. And if you don't, well, nobody expected you to anyways. And that's kind of the same thing that happens when you go to create the impossible. You're the underdog. Nobody's really expecting you to pull it off. But wouldn't it be cool if you did? And that freedom very often will bring stuff out of you, will bring creativity out of you, will bring ideas out of you, will bring action out of you that you'd find it very difficult to take if you thought you were supposed to succeed.
Interesting. Now, is it necessary to actually believe it's possible in order to achieve it?
No, in fact, see, here's the thing. Belief, I once said this, and it's a little bit corny, but it's kind of the point. Belief is just doubt with a smiley face in the O. In other words, belief is, when I'm thinking of, when I make a picture of it all working in my head, a really vivid picture, then I believe it's possible. But when my picture's not very vivid, or I make a picture of myself failing that's really vivid, then I doubt it. Then I don't believe it's possible. That's just a game that you're playing with yourself in your head. There's no predictive. The only reason that belief sometimes appears to be predictive is that if we don't believe something's possible, and we don't have the context of a creating the impossible program or game, then we tend not to try. So in other words, belief can act as a sort of an on-off switch for action if you don't have a bigger context. The point of creating the impossible program is you don't need belief to be the reason you take action. You take action because you decided, hey, I'm going to create the impossible. Well, do you believe you can? No, I really don't. Well, what are you going to do today? I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. You don't need to believe it's possible. You just need to take the actions that you would take if you did.
Okay. All right. I understand the difference there. So what is your impossible goal regarding this program?
Well, I haven't locked this, but I think I'm launching a new first ever Ultimate Coach Training Program next year in New York City. It's going to run from January to June, and I'm going to take 60 coaches. They're trying to talk me up to 100, but at the moment I'm talking them back down to 60. 60 coaches through, and just creating a comprehensive coach training program. So people who already have coach training can come on it to really develop what I call transformative coaching skills, which is quite different to the sort of normal performance coaching or context coaching that most people do in most of the schools, even the really wonderful schools teach. And also it's also designed, though, so that even somebody who's never coached before but wants to become a coach or wants to bring transformative coaching skills into their business, into their life, it's comprehensive enough that even if you don't have experience, you can do it. So I'm launching that program, and it starts in January, and my impossible goal is to half fill it by the end of the month, so to get the first 30 people booked in by the end of July.
Wonderful. So you're going to be working right along with us.
Oh, absolutely. No, I mean, I'd like to sound selfless and say I created the program for you, but really I kind of do it for me, and it's more fun when more people play.